Hi, welcome to the Pop Filler Podcast. My name is Philip. Before we do anything else, let's check the mailbag. Marlo T. writes, I know it's a time-honored tradition to withhold information in order to generate conflict, but what they pulled in Daffodil Grove was a road too far. If Lindsay had just told her mom that her cat had rabies, literally everything else that they had to go through could have been prevented. I mean, poor kitty, but come on. I didn't see Daffodil Grove yet, and I guess what you're talking about isn't really a spoiler, since we basically know all that from the trailer. But yeah, Marlo, I can relate to what you're saying. I also don't like conflict solely based on someone not telling someone else something. As far as I'm concerned, conflict should only be based on two things. One is an honest accident where someone picks up the wrong dry cleaning. In that case, the person realizes the error and brings it back to exchange for the correct items. The dry cleaning employee apologizes profusely, but there's no hard feelings. They've been going there for years, and this is the first time this sort of thing has happened. And anyway, we're only human. The only other source of conflict in any medium should be someone pushing out their chair too quickly in a cafe, so the person walking by them has to hop out of the way at the last second to avoid getting bumped by the chair. A slightly tense but polite conversation may ensue, and then they can both go about their day. And the next time that seated person is in a similar situation, they remember to check before they push their chair back. See, not only can conflicts be resolved, but they can make the world a better place in their own small ways. Well, for the United States of America, it's almost Independence Day, a day where we celebrate the concept of freedom. We celebrate it with fireworks, fellowship, and food. Today I'd like to talk about some of America's favorite and most delicious Independence Day refreshments. But just like America itself, these foods hold rotten truths that most people don't want to confront. Let's start with hot dogs. Hot dogs are great. You can grill them, bun them, and dress them up however you want. But let's take a closer look at that wiener. Processed meats can be linked to an increased risk for type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Not to mention that many hot dogs pack in cancer-causing nitrates. Well, let's just wash it down with some ice-cold lemonade. So sweet, so tart, and so refreshing. But did you know that drinking too much lemonade can cause tooth decay, heartburn, acid reflux, or even contribute to heart disease? Well, alright, let's forget the lemonade. How about refreshment in the form of an organic, sweet, juicy watermelon? It's the perfect all-American treat. But don't overdo it. Watermelon contains lycopene, which in abundance can cause symptoms like indigestion, nausea, and vomiting. Watermelon also contains potassium. Great, right? Well, high levels of potassium in the blood can lead to cardiovascular problems and adversely affect motor functions. So maybe instead of celebrating Independence Day by eating a bunch of dangerous food, you might be better off doing something a little safer, like playing with fireworks in the alley. Now it's time for another composting. This week brought another round of dropping scraps into the compost bucket. Some additions include bananas, onions, peach pits, jalapenos, bell peppers, coffee grounds, and limes. Additionally, when you open the lid now, it looks like winter has come early, and a light dusting of snow has left its crystalline touch inside. That's right, mold has entered the scene in a big way. It really is everywhere. The smell has evened out a little bit too. It's sort of a damp, patient stench, not aggressive. We get a new bucket next week, and a new chapter of rot will begin. Dear Diary, I recently built a new computer for myself. I've never done this before. and I wouldn't say I have a real aptitude for it. But it seemed like something interesting I could try and do myself. I ordered the parts over a few weeks. Once I finally had them all, I laid them out on the dining table and tried to follow the video instructions of overconfident young men on the internet. It was a slow and deliberate process, but I had no major hiccups. At one point, I did need to go to a local computer parts store to buy a component I was missing. Once I finished piecing everything together and loaded up the operating system, I successfully got it up and running. I kept waiting for a feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment that I thought would come from building something, but it never came. Instead, I kept waiting for something to break or fail. It still hasn't, but the fear remains. Maybe I need to go back to those instructional internet videos to learn about being overbearingly self-assured. Thanks for listening. Your friend, Philip. Okay, before we wrap things up, it's time for household tips. Do you ever wear shoes? Hey, me too. You can put all kinds of things in a shoe. Sometimes things can even put themselves into a shoe and do things like die. So here's the tip. Before you put on a pair of shoes, check them for bugs, living, dying, or dead. Okay, that'll do it for another Pop Filler. Thanks for listening, and remember, you'll be fine.